The Horde-exclusive Shaman in vanilla World of Warcraft over the years has experienced many different identities and specializations, one-shotting people as enhancement in battlegrounds with windfury, blasting from the back lines as elemental, supporting allies as a healer with chain heal and windfury totem, and even tanking now and again. This class really has so many directions you could take it in, so believe me when I say Blizzard really had their options open when they wanted to decide what to do with the Shaman in this season. But with plenty to cover and arguably one of the most exciting classes at this early stage, let's check out the known runes for the Shaman in Season of Discovery. First, a really quick shout out to Star Trek Fleet Command for the continued support on the channel. They're currently celebrating their 5th anniversary, and you can use code WARPSPEED to claim in-game rewards. To find out more, click the link in the description and download the game for free on either PC or mobile. So getting straight into it, we already have essentially a new class identity for the Shaman. As we can see, there is a rune planned for dual wield specialization. This will increase chance to hit with weapons while dual wielding, as well as spells by 5%. Also, Storm Strike will now hit with main hand and offhand, when we eventually get it at level 40 that is. Well, if you've watched my videos for a bit, you already know I want to see Blizzard try and make two-hand enhance feel more relevant, instead of just putting dual wield into the game. And judging from the many posts online about this, I think a few other people do as well. I reckon you'll get your two-handed runes eventually, enhancement enjoyers, just not for the 25 bracket. The hopes is that two-handed can compete though, because if you look at classes that can dual wield in vanilla, such as Rogue or Warrior, they tend to be pretty good at this doing DPS thing. Also, I'll assume you'll learn dual wielding at your trainer now, because it's not in the talent tree or on this rune. Either way, that's a lot of hit on both melee and spells for free, so when we finally get Storm Strike at level 40, we should start really seeing the benefits of this. The next chest rune is another step towards a newer class identity for the Shaman. This one is for tanking. So each time you block, you gain maximum mana and gain armor equal to 30% of your shield's value, stacking up to 5 times. So we're talking a 150 bonus armor value from your shield after having blocked 5 times. Also, you gain 10% increased chance to block, and your block value is increased by 15%. The big takeaway here is A, you want a beefy shield with plenty of armor. There are some shields in the game that have extra stat allocation as armor too. Maybe there's even new ones in the BFD raid. And I found this too while I was looking up shields. There is a level 40 elite quest which you can start at 25, Horde only, which awards a shield that you will be able to equip at level 25, but it has stats as if it were level 40. This level 25 phase is going to be so interesting for gearing. Anyway, the second point is you want decent block chance so this stacks up fast and you're consistently getting maximum mana back. Block value is just a flat amount of reduced damage taken when you block, so it tends to be a bit less important. Overall, this is a very good start for the Shaman tank dream. We have some even better runes to come later though. Next we have Overload, and wow, this is a very powerful version of Overload. Usually in Season of Discovery, when we see a talent from later expansions, it's been toned down a bit, but this one is even better. It gives all of Lightning Bolt, Chain Lightning, Chain Heal, Healing Wave, and Lava Burst a 33% chance to cast a similar spell at half effectiveness on the target. Overload for Chain Heal just seems extremely powerful. A 1 in 3 chance to get an extra chain heal straight up might make Resto Shaman one of the best raid healers on the Horde side. Imagine combining this with Nature's Swiftness too. There is a small problem of not getting chain heal until level 40 though, but even early into the season, just a second healing wave cast is already good. The real big deal here though is for Elemental, who will have a chance to have their Lightning Bolt, Chain Lightning, and Lava Burst overload. Now you don't get Chain Lightning until level 32, so we'll have a little bit of a wait for that, but Lava Burst being on overload is crazy. And I guess spoilers for Elemental later, yes, you're going to be getting Lava Burst. We'll get to that soon though. Also, can you imagine this for PvP? Shaman could already global you, and now they just got a much higher chance to do so. The final chest rune to cover is Healing Rain. So you select an area 15 yards around a targeted player and heal all of the target's party every second over 20 seconds. Healing Rain feels like one of those Shaman abilities they have had forever, but it didn't come into the game until Cataclysm, and during that expansion it ticked every 2 seconds over a 10-second duration, so our vanilla version in that regard is in some ways a lot more powerful. I'm going to assume it can't crit, however, because similar ground-targeted effects do not do so, but if there's a group of allies that are stacked and aren't expected to move all that much, this seems like a pretty good heal to throw down. Now onto the leg runes, starting with Ancestral Guidance. For 10 seconds, 25% of damage is converted onto healing for 3 nearby party members, and 100% of healing is converted to damage on the most recent Flame Shock target. This is another talent from a later version of the game, but as usual it's been changed quite a bit. The damage converted to heal just seems okay. There aren't too many situations where you specifically need 3 party members getting loads of heals, so may not be taken too often for this reason. Converting 100% of heals to damage though, I'm not gonna lie, that's a lot. Imagine in PvP you're hitting a resto shaman, and they pop Ancestral Healing, then Nature Swiftness a healing wave, and if that crits they're gonna hit you back for about 50 to 75% of your health. That is pretty spicy, and you don't expect to get near enough global by a healer, that's for sure. All in all, Ancestral Guidance seems like a bit of a niche flex pick, as the leg runes have some real powerhouses available. Next we have Earth Shield, protects the player, reducing channeling or cast time loss by 30% and causing attacks against them to heal a small amount. An interesting option for both PvP and PvE. I'm going to assume one Dispel removes 1 charge, similar to how it was in TBC, instead of Wrath where one Dispel removes the whole ability. The reason I think this is because they've halved the number of charges down from 6, as it was in TBC, to 3 here. Also, Priest and Shaman can both remove 2 magic effects at once through offensive dispels in vanilla. All the same, it is very solid dispel protection, and with how many effects are magical, often including consumables, this seems quite good. Reducing the loss of cast time is something that all casters would benefit from. For example, a Warlock with Earth Shield and Talented Drain Life would suffer 0 channeling loss on that ability. In PvE it's a nice bit of passive healing on any target, you would have to be refreshing it quite often though. Now we have Way of Earth. This is the big rune you'll be taking to give your Shaman some real tanking ability. While Rockbiter is active on your main hand, you deal 100% increased threat, have 30% more health, take 10% reduced damage, and 6% less chance to be crit by melee attacks. Earth Shock becomes your taunt, has a separate cooldown from other shocks, and is changed to a melee range ability. So yeah, that's pretty much everything you could have wanted from a tanking stance, to be honest. Maybe even on easier bosses there is a dual-wield Way of Earth build, kind of like Fury Proc from vanilla. After all, tanking in vanilla is all about threat generation. Doesn't matter if you don't take any damage if you can't hold threat. And with how much every class has been buffed, tanks are going to need to put in overtime. Shaman threat was already not too bad, between Earthshock and Rockbiter having bonus threat modifiers, Fire Nova for AoE and all of that good stuff. Mind you, Shaman will get another AoE tool, which we'll talk about in a moment. Finally on the legs we have Shamanistic Rage. So if you aren't tanking, this seems as though it's the big winner for the leg runes. It reduces all damage taken by 20%, and you regenerate mana based upon your strongest stat, between attack power, healing power, or spell power over 15 seconds. Now at level 25, as good as this may seem, it's not going to be giving you much mana back. Even if you had 100 spell power at 25, which, unless there's a lot of crazy new items, you won't, that would only be 150 mana regenerated. So to be honest, early game seems more of a defensive tool, but this will scale well as we progress later into the game, and of course is another very nice tool for the Shaman in PvP. Finally, we have the gloves. Molten Blast is a new ability which is aimed more towards a tanking style of gameplay. It blasts all enemies in front of you for fire damage and causes high threat. Flame Shock periodic damage also has a chance to reset this ability. So that is your AoE threat for tanking ticked off then. It seems as though the Shaman tank has a very well-rounded toolkit. Possible uses for enhancement on AoE or dungeon-focused gameplay, but that bonus threat modifier might be a problem for them. Or maybe for enhance, you'd rather take Lava Lash. Another recognizable ability from Wrath of the Lich King, instantly deals offhand damage that does bonus damage if imbued with Flame Tongue. This would seem to be catered more towards a melee DPS enhancement dual wield kind of gameplay, but there is no reason you couldn't take this on a tank if you're dual wielding, and either you just don't need Molten Blast or AoE threat, or perhaps there is another tank doing the AoE role, and you just care about blasting main tank threat as much as possible. Remember, Way of Earth is gonna work as long as there's Rockbiter on your main hand weapon. Someone needs to come up with a name for this Fury Proc version of Enhance. If I know vanilla tanking, I know threat is king, and if enhancement can, they will be dropping their shield now and again. Moving on to Water Shield, this one will be more often than not for the resto Shaman enjoyers. It grants 1% max mana per 5 seconds, and a further 4% of your max mana when you're hit. Though this very well may be good for other specs too, if mana is that much of an issue. But honestly, outside of restoration gameplay, the biggest use is probably just going to be to smooth out leveling, as that's one of the areas of gameplay where you're constantly getting hit, and can really maximize the bonuses from this. And last but not least is Lava Burst. Yes, Shamans in vanilla are getting Lava Burst, and it can overload. There is no way this is not OP in PvP, by the way. And pretty amazing in PvE as well. You know how Elemental Shaman's level 40 talent, Elemental Mastery, guarantees a crit, and that is such a powerful effect that it is their final talent? Well, what if you just guaranteed a crit on a basic spell? Surely that will be fine, right? Also, I'm just saying you will be able to Elemental Mastery and get a double crit from Lava Burst into Earth Shock without Flame Shock up. Assuming Lava Burst does do more damage than Chain Lightning, that is. The interaction of this double crit from Elemental Mastery was not due to spell batching. It was an intended gameplay mechanic that got removed in the Burning Crusade. So yeah, this ability is going to be insane for the Shaman. They're going to be an absolute terror in all areas of content. So let's get on to some overall thoughts for the Shaman and their runes so far. The tanking set seems to have gotten everything it could have asked for. Mana regen, more armor, bonus threat, a taunt, AoE threat. It seems genuinely good. What I am excited to see though is whether a Fury prot type enhancement tank will arise as we progress into the season. As for DPS enhancement, I will admit I wanted to see two-handed enhance. All the same, dual wield tends to be fairly good DPS in this game. I don't think they will be as amazing as some other dual wield specs as they are lacking spell damage scaling on a bunch of abilities, but if you do enjoy that dual wield enhancement gameplay, then you can look forwards to that. Oh, and don't forget, you don't have Windfury at level 25, so you're going to have to find a Feral Druid for that. Resto seems solid. No Chain Heal is hurting them for the level 25 bracket, but once we hit 40, Overload Chain Heal is going to be overpowered. I have no doubt about that. And Elemental feels as though it is the big winner here with Overload and Lava Burst. I will say, however, Elemental is missing so many good talents at level 25, including cast time reduction on spells, bonus crit on spells, and of course, Elemental Mastery. So I think they'll feel quite slow to play, and you really won't get a good sense of how they will be yet. But once we hit 40, you could add no new further runes to Elemental, and it is just one of the best PvP specs in the game, and should also do very respectably in PvE. I also like overall how there is so much flexibility between these Shaman runes as a whole. With some other classes there are rune packages which you would only really ever play together. The Shaman has options and choices, some of which may not be entirely obvious yet. So from that point of view, this is why I think Shaman is so interesting so far in Season of Discovery. But those are just my initial impressions on the runes we know for the Shaman at this very early stage. Is there any spec in particular you're looking forwards to playing, and what do you think about them? Let me know below. And as always, thank you all so much for watching and listening in, and I'll see you on the next one very soon.